If you have an interest in horses and love learning more about horses, the horse industry, teaching, or even managing your own horse business, then you're in the right place. We would love you to join us on our mission, which is to improve the lives of horses around the world through the education of riders, handlers, and trainers. So get comfortable, listen in, and enjoy.
This has been another episode sponsored by Online Horse College. If you haven't had a look at the wide variety of equine-specific accredited courses, then go to onlinehorsecollege.com and I'll see you over there. Today's chat's brought to you by Sophie Barrington and Archer Creative. If you're frustrated by a low return on investment from your marketing efforts, have a look at Sophie Barrington's site. She does copywriting, public relations, social media, email marketing, graphic design and website design. You can find her details on horsechats.com/Sophie Barrington or go to horsechats.com, search for Sophie, search for Barrington or search for Archer Creative and you'll find all her contact details. Today we're going to talk to Elizabeth McMaster. Now we're going to talk to Elizabeth again. She came in and visited us on episode 082, which is quite a while ago, but she was pretty popular and we redid that episode for Listener's Choice in 344. And today Elizabeth's going to talk to us with some tips to help riders. So how are you today, Elizabeth?
I'm well, thank you.
Very good, very good. Apart from your dry weather there?
Yes, we'd like some more rain.
Yes, probably have a little bit of ours, but, you know, we don't want to get rid of too much of ours. It's lovely green grass.
I wouldn't advise you to let it go.
No. Now, Elizabeth, today, these tips to help riders. Why did you choose this particular one?
Well, just going out, either out teaching or out going and having a look at competitions, things I've seen that seem to me not very difficult to fix, like my noseband thing. They're not very difficult to fix to make things a lot better quite easily. Mm-hmm. And I think people are not always careful about little details that could really, really help them. Yes.
And to make the horses happier, which ultimately the horses go better and then they enjoy the ride much more.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, the first one you've got is about the gear. So, and you talked about nosebands being too tight. What else would you like to say about that?
Well, if they're too tight, I often see the flash nosebands with the lower strap done much too tightly around the muzzle and the nostrils. And
so when you say flash noseband, do you flash or a Hanoverian?
Hanoverian.
Yep. Okay.
Yes, people call them both, I know.
Yes.
So the Cavison set comfortably is really nice, but a lot of people then do the lower piece really, really tight and it pulls the whole thing too low and it's very irritating. And if it's tight, it's really unkind to the horse and you should be able to get at least 2 fingers in there.
Okay.
And if they're over-tightened, it's going to set up more resistance. If the horse can't move his jaw, how can he relax or move the bit? So it seems a very little thing to deal with to me.
Yes. And I was going to ask you about the fit there, but you've already said that you like to see 2 fingers.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, because then we go on, because that's the gear for the bridles. What about the saddle?
Well, I'm very big on getting my saddler. He's wonderful. He comes out and checks the horse's back and fits and makes sure it fits. But you need it to fit and make the horse comfortable and the rider, because if you can get a saddle that really sits well on your horse and helps you a little bit, things become a lot easier. I'm not over keen. I see a lot of pupils with the really new dressage saddles, very big knee rolls, very high cantles. And I've lunged some of them in an older style dressage saddle, and you can just see how weak their core is because they're totally depending on being held in by the knee rolls and the high cantle. And I think it's a bit lazy, particularly for younger people.
Yes.
To do a little bit of work yourself.
Okay.
So I personally don't like the feeling of having my leg absolutely trapped in place.
Okay, yep. So you've got the freedom to move around a bit if you need to.
A little bit, yes.
Okay, next point is the rider fitness, because you talked about a strong core. So the rider fitness, you've got to have the saddle, but the rider fitness as well.
Yes, what made me think of that one, I went with a friend to look at some horse trials it's a few months ago now, and we parked ourselves under a tree to watch the last couple of fences on the 60-centimetre class, which was running. And it was interesting because there were a lot of horses going out past us to the start, and I noticed how many girls who looked to me like early 20s. They're heading out. Look, they had lovely horses. The horses looked fit, healthy, good coats, suitable gear. When they came back to the last two obstacles, the horses were a lot fitter than the riders. And you just thought, gee, and a couple that didn't like the last little water combination ran out, and the riders were not in a secure position to do anything about it. And I think a lot of that came from just being quite unfit. It was a very hot day, but they'd gone to the trouble, I felt, with the horses and the equipment. Everything looked to me like they got some lessons and had a fair idea what they were trying to do, and their own fitness or lack of was letting them down, which seemed a pity because they were pretty well set up otherwise, and the horses seemed to jump nicely. I know it was low level, but I was quite admiring until I saw some of them flopping around near the end. And I thought, that's not so good.
Yes.
So
Well, they're not going to be able to help the horse, and if they're not fit enough at the low level, they've really, really got to work harder to get to the neck, as they go up the levels.
Absolutely.
Point number 4, you've got about getting help with your position, and you've talked about lessons. So what sort of things should people be working on? I mean, obviously to have lessons to go on to make them more competitive, but anything in particular that you'd like to talk about within the lessons?
If you can get some lunging to get your position right, because a good position makes it easier. If you sit in the middle and balanced, it's easier for the horse. Horses will try and step under your weight to keep their own balance.
Yep.
And if you're in a secure position, it enables you to have steadier contact with your horse's mouth, makes you feel safer. So, it's very valuable. Mm-hmm. I also found that when I taught a lot of little children years ago, the children who did dancing lessons, it was wonderful to help their coordination on the pony. They were better than the swimmers or anything. And I can remember some of the mothers saying, the only other thing she does is dancing and she's not frightfully good at it. But I still found they had that little coordination. They can move one leg or a little part of their body without the whole body being involved and banging around.
Yes.
So I believe a friend of mine who was a dancer, she said that what I was teaching the children with exercise, she said we call them isolation exercises, how to control and maybe be still with your seat, but use this leg or that, and not just every bit be involved in one little movement. Like you see someone go to kick the horse and jerk it in the mouth at the same time. And that's not very good. I'm
just thinking about the structure of ballet lessons too. You can stop the dancer and move the hand just a little bit this way or a bit of a turn and then keep going. But swimming, it's very hard to hear if you're going to stop and talk about technique and that, but you've still got to stay afloat. You've still got to keep breathing. It makes it a bit hard. That's probably the primary rather than style. So the style for the dancers, yes, I can understand that. Yep. Yes,
I just found that was interesting because at one stage I seemed to have a lot who were quite good swimmers, in school teams and things, and except that it made them fitter, that was good.
Yep.
But the swimmers and the netballers, I didn't see, and the gymnasts and the dancers, but particularly the dancers, that was the ones that really seemed to help them on the pony.
Good.
So I just thought that's an interesting little sideline.
Yes, and a complementary. You wouldn't necessarily think, ballet and horses would go together, but could be quite complementary.
Yes.
Maybe the gymnasts and the horses, when you're thinking about vaulting.
Yes, they're amazing, the vaulters, and I think anything like that's good. They get control of their body.
Yep.
And I think that's the hard thing.
Good. What about
any of those sort of things really help?
Yep. So point number 5, you've got learn to recognise your horse's natural rhythm.
Yes, I see a lot of horses that are either being kicked and hustled out of their rhythm, and the rider keeps kicking even when the horse is travelling quite well. So then you can spoil it. You need to recognise his natural first and keep it as regular as possible, and then try and develop relaxation, mental and physical. Mm-hmm. Then you look at, do you need him to wait a little? Try and trot. You can often adjust that by just slowing your rising a little. They pick up a lot from our body movement. So if you've got a quick horse and you're really quick with him, it's all going to get quicker again.
Yes, and I think those two balance, aren't they? The horse's natural rhythm, and then do you need him to wait a little?
Yes, get his rhythm. And I put a quote in there that I liked. I don't know a lot about this. It was Jean-Luc Cornell article in an old dressage and CT I was going through, and he says first one needs to move in harmony with the horse, then one is able to influence the horse's movement. So again, get your position and your balance and just find out what his natural rhythm is and then work up from there.
Yes. Okay. Before you talked about, when we were talking about coordination, about someone kicking and, snapping the horse in the mouth, more because that's the way they move one part of their extremes to the other. But the next point you've got here is to make sure you're not blocking the horse with your hands.
Yes. A lot of people, they think they're putting him on the bit and they've got him against the bit, and then they're really having to kick. And depending on the horse, he either gets upset or you just get little or no response. So make sure you're not shutting him down. Then if he's lazy, then you've got to try and be really consistent with your aids.
Yes.
And then leave him alone when you get what you want. People just keep nag.
Mm-hmm.
And the horse says, oh, yeah, righto, that's what she does. I'll just do my own thing again.
Yes.
They're quite adept at, if we're confusing them, they'll just pick something that suits them, and that's what they'll do.
Yeah. You're putting all these together, because you've got the blocking with your hands, but you're still going back to the fitness and the help with position, because if someone's not fit, they're not going to be able to keep their position, and they're not going to be able to coordinate well. So that comes blocking with the hands as well. That
all overlaps, absolutely.
All right, so the next thing you've got is roundness is important, but you want to talk a bit more about that, about the roundness, It's not the be-all and end-all. Think about something else. It's got to be, as you said, in balance altogether. Yep.
Yes, get the balance, and you've got to people forget the hindquarters are the motor.
Yes.
And they get, I feel, although we do need them round and nice and loose in the gullet and flexing, to get much too worried and they ride the front. Sometimes you've just got to ignore the front for a little while and just get the hindquarters going and the rhythm established first. People ride them from the front to the back rather than the back to the front.
Mm-hmm.
And we want him eventually to seek a constant contact and follow the bit, whether I'm stretching him down or shortening the frame.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to try and push him towards the bit, not pull him back to you.
I think that's a good point.
Which is easier said than done, but it's really important.
Yes, and that point, pushing him towards the bit, not pulling him back to you. I think that's, people just got to have that in mind.
Get, the energy.
Yep.
Sorry. If you can get the energy and the activity and the flexion,
yes,
a lot of them will then begin to come on the bit. It gets a lot easier.
Yes.
We often do it the hard way by starting at the front end. And the horse thinks, well, maybe I should stop.
Yep. The next point you've got is learn to use the arena and ride the accurate figures. So how is this going to help?
When you're riding a test, there's a lot of points there. I can always remember Dr. Holsell going around about having a correct walk and a free walk and riding your corners. Points for nothing. I see a lot of people with average horses, but there's a lot of points. I mean, whether you've got an average horse or a very special horse, they should do it correctly. But we're all lazy about riding proper corners, riding a proper circle track, being accurate. And there's a lot of points there in a dressage test for that, and just keeping the horse regular, whether he's a magnificent dressage horse or just your average riding horse. There's a lot of points people can pick up there just by, really seeing where the test goes. I tell them to draw it and map it out. Don't ride corners when you're on the circle track. Don't let your corner be the same as the circle track. And if they can ride a correct corner and they're tracking under themselves, you're really starting to get things happening. You also see a few people, they know they need a deep corner and they go in too deep, more than the horse's balance can handle, and then they fishtail out with a green horse. Which, with a great big young horse, you might make your corner the same as your 20-metre circle line, but your schooling, there's a purpose for that,
Yeah.
It shouldn't be just done accidentally because you're not in control.
Yes. I keep thinking about the points for nothing. It really is the attention to detail, isn't it?
Yes. I was judging years ago and I saw one of our then professional riders ride a horse for someone. I think it was only a novice test. And the horse was usually about the middle of the field. It was nice, there was nothing wrong, but it wasn't special. Professional rode and run the test because every transition was where it should happen, smooth, accurate. Everything was correct.
Yep.
And he was better than a couple of flash movers who did mistakes because the entire test was absolutely flowing and beautifully set out.
Yep.
And I thought that's a very big lesson, what a good, accurate, careful rider can do with a nice but not super special horse.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, the last point you've got is about reading the rule book. How often do people not know the rule book and the training scale?
Most of the time, I think. It's awful. Well, I teach a lot at the local riding club, and I endlessly do what I call arena geography. Hang on, we're all heading off to do a preliminary test, and just to get accurate 20-metre circles. It's not that they can't ride a 20-metre circle, but they don't work out where it goes. The centre one, I explain about the 12 metres between the markers. So their centre EB 20-metre circle often has a couple of extra metres in it and becomes slightly oval. And then because the eye is drawn to the letters, the ones at each end are 18 metres instead of 20. And the people get confused about the paces and collection. And actually the basic definitions in the dressage rule book, which they can look up online if they don't want to buy a book. I think you should have the book and keep it with you. But it's easy to research that. It's not hard to find it, to get some ideas if you're not quite sure, you know.
Yes.
You know, I'm just amazed. This is a while ago. Some lovely girls came in and they'd been eventing and they could jump quite nicely. They came in for a dressage session at the club. And the two of them told me very seriously, we're going to have to get running reins because we're being told our horses are not round enough at the dressage. Wow. So when I stopped sobbing, I tried to explain there might be other ways to do this.
Yes.
But yeah, they didn't bother to sort of look what might be the next step. They had a contact, they were jumping, they had decent gear, they sat quite nicely, but they felt they had to pull their heads in now.
Sort of goes back to what you were saying before, you know, about pushing the horse towards the bit, not pulling him back to you.
Yes. I think it all goes back to those basic things and getting your position and then finding your horse's rhythm and working from there.
Yes.
And if you treat them nicely, I mean, you get a few that are in the gun, but most horses will respond if they know the rules and everything's reasonable.
Yep.
You know, they really are amazingly obliging animals, most of them.
If you're an equestrian coach or a horse riding instructor, or even if you aspire to be one, have a look at the free video series for horse riding instructors on the Horse Chats website. Go there now, have a look, horsechats.com. All right, now just to sum up these tips to help riders, how would you summarise it? You know, what can people do and take this, go on, but just summarise it for our listeners as well.
Oh, well, get some help with your position or get a friend to video you or something and check all your gear, all the points I've said about gear.
Yep.
And get those things sorted. Yes, I actually sent some people off yesterday because I could not convince one rider who's got a lot of knowledge, but it's a complete confused rag bag of what order you do things. And the horse is so far behind the vertical, it's awful. So I think I've convinced her to get because she understands what behind the vertical is, but she has no concept that that's what she's doing to a horse.
Yep.
And she doesn't seem to believe people telling her. So I said, get a friend too, because most mobiles will take a little video now.
Yes.
And have a look. Have a look what you're actually doing. That can help. There's a lot of things you can do without having your own personal instructor.
I was just about to say that about it doesn't have to be expensive. You know, use what you've got. Get the videos. Have a look. You know, get on YouTube. See what it should be. Have a look at your training scale. And all those things are going to help. Yep. All right. Elizabeth, thank you for talking to us again today. We certainly hope you come back again. I think, these tips to help riders are very good and look forward to chatting to you again soon.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Now, if you're still there, you probably know that I'm absolutely passionate about education within the horse industry. That's why I host this podcast. My other venture is Online Horse College. Have a look now at onlinehorsecollege.com and I'll see you over there.
Remember that our comments and instructions are general in nature and do not take into consideration your individual horses or your individual ability and circumstances. If you enjoyed this podcast, then please leave your comment below.